liar, scum, Nazi. Those words were chanted by protesters at the Conservative MP Anna Soubry yesterday outside Parliament. Some of the shouting was while she was being interviewed on the BBC News channel, but the abuse continued as she tried to make her way to the House of Commons. Ms Soubry has criticised police for not intervening and called for the protesters to be prosecuted under public order laws. Now, over 50 MPs have written to the boss of the Metropolitan Police in London to express their concern about what they call the, quote, deteriorating public order and security situation outside Parliament. We'll talk to the MP who organised the letter in a moment. Here's what happened yesterday.
Constituents who voted to leave, Anna. Anna, why are you not doing that, Anna? Why are you not doing that, Anna?
Anna, I want to know why you're making up lies about me.
This could go on for a while.
No, and that's why that's the other thing that has now got to happen, is we have to be absolutely... I do object to being called a Nazi, actually.
Right. Well, apologies to you if you're offended by what you're listening to.
I just think this is astonishing. This is what has happened to our country, actually. This is what's happened to our country. But anyway, let's try and move on and be positive about things. She can't keep coming back with the same motion. She can't tweak a word of it or anything else. What we need is to get this determination on her deal.
So why do you advocate for a people's vote when there's already been a people's vote? Can you tell me that? You're a fascist. Why don't you believe it's democracy? Tell me that. Why don't you believe in democracy? You're a fascist. Anna, you lost the answer the question. You scared to answer the question, Anna. You're playing to represent the people when your constituents voted to leave.
Well, the Met says it is investigating whether any crimes were committed after receiving a third-party report of a public order offence. But some on social media say that Ms Soubry and other politicians should take some responsibility for this kind of language. Brendan O'Neill is the editor of Spiked Online. He says Anna Soubry is at the forefront of a deeply cynical and elitist effort to demonise and destroy a great act of democracy, the vote for Brexit. It's entirely natural that she should become the focal point for people's anger. Jack One asks on Twitter, should MPs also take some responsibility for their own behaviour? Recent scenes of braying asses and hateful language inside the House of Commons isn't really a good example to set. MPs are setting the tone for hate and it's trickling down. And Tim Montgomery, who is a Conservative writer and supports Brexit, says the abuse is unacceptable and I condemn it. But a parliamentarian who advocates overturning a referendum result she promised to respect should not be surprised at unleashing such ugliness. The Labour MP for Cardiff South and Penrith is Stephen Doughty. Now, he coordinated this letter to the Metropolitan Police Chief, Cressida Dick, which has been signed by over 50 MPs. Also talking to us today, Labour MP Jess Phillips. She represents Birmingham Yardley. She often gets threatened on social media, and she's previously talked on this programme about receiving 600 rape threats on social media over the course of one night. Thank you both very much for talking to us. Let me ask you both, Stephen Doughty, should someone be arrested for shouting the word Nazi at a politician?
Well, ultimately, it's for the police and the Crown Prosecution Service to determine what's the a breach of the law and what's not. But we're not talking here about particular individual words being said. We're talking about violent threats, intimidation, racism, sexism, misogyny, in some cases homophobia, threats to kill. It's not just what happened outside Parliament yesterday. This has been going on for many, many months. Many members of Parliament, many journalists, many activists, and of course many in the public services continue to receive threats of this nature on a daily basis. And what Jess has experienced, I've certainly experienced threats and homophobia, threats to kill. I've been sent a fake bomb. That's not what we should be putting up with in our democracy. People have the right to express their views very strongly. We have a proud tradition of protest outside Parliament, and there's been many people who've been protesting on all sides of the Brexit debate peacefully for many, many months. And what we have here is a far-right group of thugs and yobs
How do you know they're far-right
who want to intimidate. Because we have examined the where some of these individuals come from and their views and what they've posted elsewhere. And all of this has been reported to the police, and that's why we were very disappointed and why we've written to the Metropolitan Police Commissioner. Broadcasters, MPs have been raising this for months. Just so I'm
absolutely clear, Stephen Doughty, the significance of you saying you've seen evidence that they are far-right thugs. Tell our audience. What's the significance of pointing that out?
Let's put it this way. This isn't just, a couple of people who've got a bit rowdy on the street. This is organised intimidation from some, quite frankly, sinister individuals and organisations. And all of this has been reported to the police. One would hope that they were fully investigating the nature of these individuals and the organisations they're involved in before something serious happens. And,
OK, well, just on that point, before something serious happens, you're pointing out what you say are the extreme right-wing connections that you've seen evidence of. Our audience knows that the right-wing extremist Thomas Mayer was jailed for killing your colleague, Labour MP Joe Cox. Are you saying that is something that could happen if the police, that could happen again if the police don't step in?
Yes, absolutely. And let's not forget, this is not just MPs who are being threatened. This is, major broadcasters, individuals going about their job, reporting on the news of the day, being called slags, being told to F off back to their own countries, being threatened with violence, rape, as Jess has pointed out on many occasions. A lot of this, let's be frank, is targeted at women.
Okay,
it's
let me bring in Jess Phillips then.
It's targeted at Jewish community, it's targeted at Muslim MPs, it's targeted at gay MPs, and quite frankly, it's got to stop, and the police have to be doing their job outside our home of democracy.
Jess Phillips, I want to know from you, is there a difference between protesters shouting Nazi at an MP outside Parliament and racist abuse, anti-Semitic abuse?
I mean, the reason that they're shouting Nazi is because they know that it hurts her, and it is targeted, not to debate, it is targeted to hurt and be painful and to frighten us. These people, they're not trying to change our minds, they're not trying to take part in our democracy, they're not even trying to lobby us, they are trying to frighten us so that we do something different, so that when I'm reminded that my friend was murdered in the street, that maybe I won't come on the television and talk about it. That is what those people yesterday were trying to do to Anna Soubry, to Owen Jones, to Kay Burley. That is what they're doing, they're trying to scare us and bully us.
I have been looking at the public order legislation this morning. The Public Order Act 1986 was amended in 2014 to protect freedom of expression. The word insulting was taken out of the legislation. So it now says words or behaviour that is insulting within the hearing of someone likely to be caused harassment, alarm or distress will no longer constitute a criminal offence. Well, Nazi is just an insult, isn't it?
The thing is, the substantive little bits of the law and whether this is a particular public order offence, any decent person watching this will realise that this is not what they'd want walking down their street, that this is not what they have to put up with when they're going in and out of work. And if they do, they would hope that politicians like me would stick up for them. If this was police officers, if this was nurses, if this was anybody in their workplace, I would be looking to try and make sure that they were safe.
But sorry to interrupt, Jess Phillips, what some people on social media are saying to me is, first of all, MPs have played a massive part in the decline of moral standards. That's from N7 on Twitter. And secondly, for normal people, they're saying, look, the police wouldn't help me if I was called something in the street going about my business. Why are MPs different?
But that's just simply not true. I wouldn't ask for any special protection other than the fact that we are especially at risk, just like police officers especially at risk, just like nurses. And we have, if you go into your local job centre, you will see that there is a security officer on the door, for example. Those people deserve to be safe at work. But the point of the matter here is that we are basically, if people are getting in touch with you and saying, oh, it's just free speech, people like Anna Soubry are asking for it, what we're saying is that we're going to justify the behaviour of organised right-wing groups to try and scare our politicians into making decisions based on fringe views. I didn't come here to be bullied by far-right bullies, far-left bullies, or anyone. We came here to do what we felt was best. And you have to remember, in the whole she's trying to overturn a democratic vote, Anna Soubry was democratically elected by her constituents, as was I, and we should be able to do the job that they have put us here
Well, that's
to do.
one of the points people are making. She was, of course, democratically elected by her constituents to do a job. And her constituency, as it happened, voted leave. And she is a Remainer and wants a second vote.
Victoria,
yes, Stephen Dowsey.
I mean, Tim Montgomery and those who've been sort of, adding this "but" to this should quite frankly hang their heads in shame. And actually what was very reassuring yesterday was that members of Parliament from across the political spectrum, from all parties, including many who are fervently in favour of Brexit, backed the letter to the police, because they know that it's only by ensuring decency and protecting the rights of all to speak out and have their views heard that our democracy functions in the way that it does.
Okay.
And
so
nobody's trying to shut down legitimate free speech here. We are talking about violent threats of intimidation.
What do you want the police to do then?
Well, there clearly needs to be a review of the particular policing arrangements outside of Parliament. Let's not forget a police officer themselves was killed just months ago, and we've seen other threats at police officers as well as journalists and MPs and members of the public. So there clearly needs to be a review of the operations outside. I mean, I was down there this morning on College Green. There was not a single police officer present when journalists and MPs were going about their business. And then I went down later.
Well, just a minute. Sorry to interrupt again, but as Mr. B points out on my timeline, well, maybe that's because there's a crime wave in London and police resources should not be diverted.
Indeed, and I sit on the Home Affairs Committee, and the fact that there's been over 20,000 police cuts since 2010 is something that I raise every day of the week. And the police are under huge
still want
pressures.
more. You want a review of the police operation around College Green.
Because this is the heart of our democracy. This is about our Parliament, about our civil servants, about our journalists going about their business at the heart of our democracy. And if we can't protect and ensure that legitimate protests and legitimate democratic activity can go on in a peaceful and safe way, then we have a serious problem.
Okay,
this isn't just about Parliament, it's about the whole country.
Can
I just say, I am just a human being. I've got 2 children. I go on the school run. I do Why on earth should threats against us not be taken seriously? It's not actually that people don't, think we shouldn't divert police activity. It's that people think that people like politicians don't deserve protecting, like we're not humans. And you know what? I would fight for the same protection that I feel that I sometimes need because people threaten to kill me all the time. Yep. I would fight for that for literally every single one of my constituents.
Absolutely.
And so why on earth would we not expect it for people like me and Stephen?
Well, why should I have a fake bomb sent to my office, Victoria? Why should I be called a batty boy?
Stop the lies. Sorry, what did you say, Stephen Dowsey?
Why should I put up with being called a batty boy, a well-known homophobic slur on the internet? Why should I have a fake bomb sent to my office? Why should I be told I deserve to die or hang or be shot or stabbed, not least when one of my good friends and colleagues was murdered? This sort of behaviour is simply not acceptable. And, if we allow us to sort of add on caveats, oh, well, they're MPs, they're celebrities, oh, they deserve it, and, journalists deserve it. Well, look at what happened to Jill Dando. Look at what happened to Joe Cox. Look at what happens to many people in the public eye and in public service every week, and the assaults on train workers, on nurses, on doctors, on police. If we start to accept that this is somehow sort of fair game because you are putting yourself in the public line of duty or in the public eye, then we are going to descend as a country into a very ugly place.
Okay, Lee Brooks says,
action.
Back to Jess Phillips. Lee Brooks says on Twitter, of course the police should step in. No one should be subject to this kind of abuse, regardless of what forum or who they are. And Stop the Lies says, yes, the police should step in. I'm gobsmacked they're allowing this intimidation and abuse to continue. Thanks, Brexit, for creating this hate and division. Is Brexit to blame, Jess Phillips?
Look, I don't think it's helped, and I think it's so polarising because the country is split that it's very easy to make a binary. But you know what? Where I live, where people voted leave, and members of my family voted leave, and lots of my constituents voted leave, this is not what happens there. These people outside Parliament are not representing those people. Absolutely. People come in and chat with me. I've got lots of Brexit voters who will come in and be like, oh, it's all right, Bab, we disagree, that's okay.
Yeah.
That is what is happening in the rest of the country. Don't let these thugs think that they are representing anyone but themselves.
Thank you so much, both of you. Thanks for coming on the programme. Jess Phillips, Labour MP for Birmingham Yardley, and Stephen Dowsey, Labour MP for Cardiff. Oh gosh, is it south or north, Stephen?
South and Penarth.
Sorry, Cardiff, south and Penarth. Thank you.